I've just finished a night shift and I heard your conversation when I was in the car.
Yes.
So I'm a paediatric nurse in a central London hospital, and unfortunately we are feeling the strain. In the last week, we have seen 260 children come through my department, and that has been...
What would be normal? What would be normal?
Well...
If there is such a thing.
If there is, I would love to say what a normal day is, but you just can't say. It will change daily, and with the.
But we don't have. I don't have what I need to go. Wow, 260. Do you see what I mean? It's just...
Yeah. So give an example. On Christmas Day last year, we saw 30 patients a day.
Right.
But compared to this week, so we're coming up to Christmas soon. So I'd probably say we saw maybe 40 a day.
Right.
Maybe a rough average, and we're seeing. A lot more, and we saw, I think it was 150 Friday night.
Whoa!
That's who came through the department, who was waiting up to about 2 hours to be seen by the triage nurse to even establish.
That's quite scary because that's the first point of contact with a healthcare professional, and the 2 hours could be I'm not going to frighten people, but it could be a very important passage of time.
Completely, and that's not to say within that time we are not approachable to be saying. You are concerned about your child's breathing. You are concerned about how your child is deteriorating while sitting there. Please approach us. Please say to us. We can always do a set of observations on your child and escalate that concern. But unfortunately, we do it you come through the doors, we see you then. We have a waiting room, and you come with a mum and a dad and a child, and they sit on your lap and they're comforted by you, but we can't see through that love and that affection you're giving your child how sick they are until you tell us, or until they come into our room and see how sick they are. We had a child in our department for 28 hours the other day because we had no bed. We had no bed to transfer this child out who's critically unwell. To move them, yet we were keeping them.
You sound almost incredulous yourself. I mean, if you as a paediatric nurse can't quite believe what you're seeing, how are the rest of us supposed to process this?
I don't know. But please be reassured that in those hours that you are waiting there, you are constantly being reassessed. You may see us sitting down.
I don't think you need to reassure us. I mean, all but the stupidest people know that you and your colleagues are doing the very, very best you can.
You say that, but the amount of abuse my colleagues have suffered from family members getting very irate with us that they're waiting. And on a night shift, we have one doctor in our department and one doctor covering the paediatric ward. They can only go as fast. Our doctors aren't getting breaks. We aren't getting breaks. Sometimes, yes, we're sitting down because we're typing on our computers about this long wait. And you're not waiting for us. We're doing your observations again, but escalate your concerns if you're worried. It's just heartbreaking that we can't do anything. Sometimes some of the nurses can do your bloods quicker. Some of the nurses can initiate some paracetamol, some Calpol, some emergency medicine that we can give you right there and then. But other times you just have to wait and see a doctor. And we shouldn't be, as nurses, having this fight with parents who are being quite abusive to us.
No, I completely withdraw my last comment when I said you don't need to reassure us, because I got the wrong end of the stick entirely. Of course you come under utterly unjustified attack from parents who are often motivated by nothing but concern for their children, but who can also be ignorant and offensive as a result. How would you map it? Because I appreciate there's no such thing as a normal day. But while I'm at it, I'll apologise for that stupid question as well. But can you, if you were to plot a graph of the last 10 years, are we looking just at roller coasters, peaks and troughs, and we'll weather another storm this winter and then things will calm down a bit in March, or are things getting worse on a year-by-year basis, as well as being a roller coaster?
Things are getting worse. Children are getting sicker. We're seeing developments in science that children are living better and longer, and they're getting treatment really well, and we're curing people. But then that means that when they're cured, they're then put more at risk because they're more vulnerable, and it's such hard to identify which ones need your help then and there. But my colleagues I work with are just heroes, and that's for every paediatric nurse. That's for every adult nurse who work in A&E and on the ward, and the ones who get their patients out of their bed so they can go home nice and early. It's different for children because they normally have a mum and a dad and a house to go home with. So it's less waiting for care homes and stuff like that. But they're being sicker for longer. Our children are just being sicker for longer. But it's also parents who are coming to A&E with like cough and cold, and not understanding how the processes of A&E work. And when we're sending you down to the urgent care centre or to see your GP tomorrow,
yes,
that's because
you haven't had an accident and you don't constitute an emergency. There's a clue. Have a look at the sign above the door. I don't know how you people keep your patients half the time, Becky, to be honest with you. Oh, I've got a tickly throat.
Sometimes, I must admit, the patient isn't always there, but do you know what? It's when last week my colleagues were texting saying, do you know what, parents were just thanking us that we would redo in their jobs and we would come out and say and apologising. Some went down to the local shop and brought back like sandwiches and drinks and Coke.
If only you had the time to eat them, eh?
Exactly. I mean, and then they begrudge you because you are recently like, this is my only break. I haven't had a wee since I started shift at 8 o'clock. It's now 2 in the morning.
Holy
it's now
moly.
5 in the morning.
Yes.
In A&E, you don't get a proper break. Well, in my department, you don't get a proper break. You're constantly worried that something's going to come through the door, and the patients you do have in your department are sick.
And this, of course, is going to make you poorly in the long run, or weaken your resistance to infections.
Exactly. My team, luckily, and we're led by a really positive manager who supports us and really empowers us. Like we get emails from him, and we get supported from our adult department when they are a little better off than we are, but obviously that favour is also returned to them when they are struggling, and it's all about teamwork. And if you're supporting each other in your department, you can have the worst day in the world, you can have children who are critically sick, but that love and support for my team is just...
And this is where I used to feel my heart swell, but now it's a slightly more complicated feeling, because where once it felt as if your dedication and your vocation were treasures that we should cherish, now it sometimes feels as if they are traits that are being abused and exploited by politicians. I don't know whether or not that makes sense to you, but it's as if you should have to call upon those extra reserves of kindness and dedication in exceptional circumstances, not in normal circumstances.
We're putting out extra shifts in our department daily for extra staff to come in and support us, but that is relying on the staff who have their days off to say, I will work an extra 12-hour shift. Do you know what? I don't want to work an extra 12-hour shift sometimes to go in to get abuse of families or to be exhausted and to be so run down that you dread going in because, what's going to come through the door? What am I going in for? Or
why do you do it? Why do you crack on? Why do you still do it?
Because there are days when you get them come in and they smile at you, or you get them come in and they ask, is this nurse working? And your colleague texts you saying a patient came in and asked you today, or they said last time they came, you looked after them, or like they're just happy when they see you, or kids are so resilient. Kids are so strong, and when they're sick, they are dog rough sick. But when they're better and they're running around, they're giving you high fives, and the parents are like, "What have you done? You've cured them." And you joke that there are magic doors, and they come through, and you promise that you do believe they were sick at home. And they're like, some are just so thankful for the jobs we do, but unfortunately, because you're stressed because your child is sick, doesn't mean you take it out on us. And that's sometimes the hardest thing. And yes, we have had to sit you on a chair in our majors area because you're too sick to sit outside. Please don't complain at us because we're doing that. We're keeping you close to us because we're worried. We're not keeping you on a chair because we don't want you to sit on that bed. That bed isn't empty. That's why you're not sat in that bed. If I could make bunk beds, you know what? I probably would. But I don't have that physical power to make you a bunk bed and make you a bed which physically
that is it. The simple presumption that nobody is deliberately making your experience worse than it needs to be would just make your life, from what it's almost, I feel like I've given you therapy. Actually, I don't. I feel like I put 10 pence in the slot and you just went off. I hope you feel better as a result. But that is the message everyone must take away from your call, Becky, is that 99.9% recurring of times, no healthcare professional will be deliberately doing less than they can to help you. And the frustration that I sense in your voice and the frustration I feel pouring out of my earphones is palpable. And it's something everyone can recognise and everyone can actually help with.